Am I clear, Sarah? Can you hear? Does it sound correct? Okay. Yes, just wanted to check, since I haven't used this before.
So how was your day, Scott? Good. You look tired. We got, I was gonna say, but you stopped me. I was gonna say, we gotta catch you first thing in the morning to get that vibrance on, but sometimes it's not there then either. Of course,
Alrighty.
Rotary, yes.
Okay, so it's good to see proof of life today. Good evening, everyone. Today is April 24th. It's now 5:30 p.m. We have a quorum, and I call to order the meeting of the Sustainability Commission for the City of Indio. I welcome the members of the public, if we have any, the city staff, the presenters, and our secretary, Ms. Sarah Toyota. Sarah, to get us started, can we please have a roll call? Thank you.
Chair Liu,
Present.
Vice Chair Benson,
Here.
Commissioner Chris,
Present?
Commissioner Vasquez.
Present.
Okay, great. Well, with that, our next agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. And so if everyone would join us by standing and take the direction of the flag together. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. So we move to our next item, which is for public comments, since this meeting is also being televised on, or not televised, it's been broadcast online. So do we have any comments?
I don't believe there are any public comments.
Okay, very good. All righty, so we move to look at the previous meeting minutes that were provided with the agenda package. So we have meeting minutes there from March 27th, 2023. And I would normally make a motion to vote on approving the minutes, but I believe that they were presented with the agenda package for review. Is that correct, Sarah, or do we vote on them?
They were part of the agenda package, but we still need to vote on them to make them official.
All right, so you want me to proceed with that? I thought I heard otherwise. Okay, then, I make a motion to vote on approving the minutes of the commission's meeting notes for March 27th, 2023 as written. Does anyone second the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. The floor is now open for any comments on the meeting's minutes, if there are any. None?
None, and I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Liu,
Approved. Well, I wasn't here, but they're approved. Okay.
Vice Chair Benson,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Aye.
Okay, well, with that, the motion passes and the minutes of the meeting from March 27th are approved and as written. Our next agenda item, number 5.1, is a presentation by Ms. Michelle C. from the Indio Water Authority. And Michelle, as you're getting set up, I would just comment that in terms of water conservation, we have a goal in our sustainability plan to conserve water. So we have a strong interest in this topic of sustainability. So we'd ask you to go ahead and thank you for taking the time to be here. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. As indicated, my name is Michelle C. I am the Administrative Services Manager with the Indio Water Authority, and I'm pleased to present to you this evening the 2023 Indio Sub-Basin Water Management Plan Update. With that said, I've kind of organized this presentation, kind of first looking at very high level, and then kind of honing in terms of water sources, and then further honing into regional planning efforts, and then finally conservation. So as many of you heard, most recently there's been a lot of news outlets regarding kind of the status in terms of where we're at in terms of drought. So the image before you on the left side of your screen is an updated in terms of where we're at per the U.S. Drought Monitor. It kind of shows at least the majority of the state is no longer in dry conditions, with a few exceptions of the northern part and southeastern part of the state. And just if you compare that to several months back, this map would typically be more of kind of in the darker red, orange shade. So this is a testament in terms of just the immense shift in terms of where we're at in terms of drought conditions. And then just another visual, the images on the right is Lake Oroville in Northern California. The image on the left is an image from December, and then on the right is an image from March of last month. So you can see in terms of water levels, another visual of that. So I wanted to kind of first go over the various water sources that's kind of located throughout the state. If you start on the left-hand side in terms of the State Water Project, it's a series of aqueducts and reservoirs that transports the water from the Northern California region to Southern California. And then if you kind of go clockwise with the Sierra Mountains, there is the Los Angeles Aqueduct that was constructed by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power that transports the water from the Sierras down to Southern California. And then most certainly you have the Colorado River Aqueduct. And then at more the regional level, you have local groundwater, conservation, and recycling. So one of the things I mentioned is, here in the Coachella Valley, how do we manage our water supply and water resources? And most importantly, we start at the regional level. And on some of these planning documents that we have, the most recent one being the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which was triggered by legislation that was passed by the state a few years ago, which essentially requires basins to be sustainably managed. And so in this sense, we've partnered up with other water agencies in the valley to develop this long-term plan. The second planning document that we have is the 2020 Regional Urban Water Management Plan. This is a plan that is updated every 5 years, so this is the most current is 2020. But a component of that includes a water shortage contingency plan, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more as it relates to the governor's executive order. But this document essentially looks at kind of, until year 2045 based on population growth, water usage, and also requires agencies from a planning level identify actions and measures taking in the event of a water shortage, whether it's natural disaster or climate change and whatnot. And so I've included, along those lines for this particular plan, the different agencies that are involved with that also. As I mentioned, a lot of this has to do with projects and programs that various agencies have in place that promotes water supply reliability in the region. And they're generally categorized in four categories, including water conservation. So that includes things like the rebates, things that we do with golf courses, and I'm talking at the regional level. We also talk about water supply development, and that includes things like additional reservoir sites, things of that nature. We also talk about source substitution replenishment, so whether it's the construction of additional replenishment facilities in the Indio Sub-Basin, those will be the types of projects. And then lastly, water quality protection. And that's you would not think that that would be part of water supply reliability, but it is in the sense that with the water supply that we do have, we want to make sure that it is compliant, that it's safe to drink, and safe to use. So in terms of planning, a lot goes into forecasting. And what I wanted to show is in some of these planning documents, we kind of look long-term. So here in this chart, we show planning projections up through year 2070. So this would show, with all the planned projects, whether in progress and or planned for the future, and accounting for variables such as climate change, worst case scenarios, reduced water allocations, where do we stand in terms of as we move forward? And as you can see, the general trend would be upwards, and the only exception would be the blue line, which kind of trickles downward, and that would be if we did not do anything, no conservation, no projects, or anything like that. So I wanted kind of to show you that all of the projects that we've identified or listed, it will help with in terms of groundwater storage in the Indio subbasin. This is an updated map that shows in terms of regional planning efforts, the use of different irrigation water sources for golf courses throughout the valley. So the ones highlighted in purple are existing recycled water customers, and they're kind of color-coded with future customers that have been identified to switch over from potable use to either canal water or recycled water. So I just kind of wanted to show you from a regional perspective alternate water sources to kind of fulfill these water demands. And this is kind of focusing in the Indio's water service area, kind of where these alternative water sources are used throughout the area. I'd just like to kind of take this time to kind of throw in a little interesting tidbit. When we're talking about like larger volumes of water, the typical term that we refer to is typically an acre foot. And from a perspective, just to give you a sense of what that translates to, it's about 326,000 gallons, and it would be the equivalent of a football field filled with 1 foot of water. So just for, when you hear acre foot, that's kind of the quantifier that we use to measure water use at that level. So as part of our commitment to sustainable groundwater management, the agencies are required to kind of review where we're at in terms of groundwater storage on an annual basis. And we do that based on a water year. And unlike a calendar year or a fiscal year, we look at a water year, and that's usually runs from October through September. So we just completed that analysis, and this is another chart, but in brief, what this chart demonstrates that the overall trend, whether you're looking at a 10-year average or a 20-year average, that the balance of groundwater storage is projecting in the positive direction. And this shows, information from the year 1970 all the way to current 2022, and how in some cases there are drier years, so they tend to dip it downwards a little bit. But overall, the general trend has been moving upwards. Okay. So as it relates to kind of where we're at, when it was drier, several months back, just to give you a frame of reference and kind of the magnitude, the State Water Project was 5%, right? But with all the excess rains, that has changed from 5% to 75%, and that's due to the above average rainfall and snowpack. So I just wanted to show in terms of the impact of the water and the rain during the last several months. And because of these promising conditions, we anticipate in the upcoming water year that there's going to be a greater water supply balance. So before these improved hydrological conditions, this Indio Water Authority, as well as several other water agencies throughout the state, were required by the governor to enact level 2 water shortage conditions. And that essentially what it means is an additional water use restrictions because of the drought. But since then, the governor released an executive order last month, which essentially is telling all water agencies that we can rescind a level 2. So we're going to revert back to level 1, which essentially means promoting conservation as a way of life. So that would basically be promoting and advocating for efficient water use and basically discourage wasteful water use. And with the exception of kind of keeping the no watering of non-functional turf. And when we're talking about non-functional turf, we're talking about like areas that are used for non-recreational purposes. So parks would be exempt. It would be maybe like common areas that have no function or anything like that. Those would be areas that the state is saying to no watering on that. And staff is working towards bringing an item before the council at next month's meeting to rescind our level 2 declaration and revert back to level 1, which is essentially promoting basic water conservation practices. I do want to take this opportunity just to remind folks who are tuned in that we are continuing to promote and offer a rebate program specifically for smart irrigation controllers, turf removal, as well as indoor fixtures that cover both toilets and washers. And also, we will be continuing to promote conservation messaging through CV Water Counts, which is our regional conservation messaging that we coordinate with other agencies in the region just to ensure consistent messaging throughout the valley. And lastly, we also have a customer portal, which I do want to highlight that we've recently switched over to a new customer engagement portal called Drop Counter. And for those who are interested, I've included the website for those to sign up and register. And this replaces the previous portal, and not only do customers are able to review their water usage, make bill payments, and receive alerts, but there's now the additional feature of a mobile app. So I just wanted to put that little reminder for those who may not be aware. So in summary, what I would hope that folks who are watching, as well as the commission, can take away from this presentation is that with the most recent above average rainfall and snow, there's certainly improved hydrologic conditions, and that seems very promising with this current water year. And a reminder that we have regional planning efforts that are in place to promote sustainable water management. And that includes, a lot of the modeling that we talked about in the worst case scenario, but still accounting for that. And that continue to promote these regional projects and also conservation to promote water savings. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have some questions, if you don't mind.
Certainly. Go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very, very useful, very informative. What is the Water Authority doing with regards to reclaiming water and using that for irrigation on public lands or private lands?
I believe right now we're currently just doing exploratory in terms of like feasibility studies to identify if there's any potential customers, what that could look like. So nothing substantial yet other than right now just kind of looking at that concept.
Okay. And as far as your rebate program, I've noticed that some of the different valley water districts do different rebates. In particular, one item I think I'd love to see with the IWA is a water recirculating pump rebate and stuff like that. So why is there a difference between the water agencies, and what can the agency do to expand as many rebates as possible for consumers?
We can definitely, I can take that note, and we can look at developing a program that potentially could help fund that.
And is there going to be any kind of expiration in any of the rebate programs, or are they permanent?
In terms of our rebate program, as of right now, there's no expiration date. I will have to say that we actually got some recent funding that will help further support our conservation program, specifically the rebates. So that's great news.
And as far as your comments on the high hydrological, and I hope I'm saying this right, year we've had, what is your comment on reports that even though we've had a lot of rain, a lot of snow this year, with some reported climate projections is that we're going to see over the next few decades very wet years and a lot of very dry years. So we're not out of the drought right now, is my understanding of the situation in the state of California. and we would need a couple of more very wet years like we had right now to get out of the drought. But it looks like the projections are that we're going to be in this roller coaster ride, and it's great that we're in a high water situation right now. But what is the plan to deal with some more very dry years and, to deal with the situation we have?
No, that's a great question. I would say that in terms of kind of where we're at, there's certainly been a change in terms of what are considered wet years and dry years. Before, in terms of rainy season, it would be much more spread out over the course of a number of months. But now, lately, in the last several years, it's been more like fast and shorter amounts of time. So it ends up being a question in terms of anticipating, like, what's the new norm, right? And so I would certainly caution and tell folks that while that may be the case in terms of hydrologic, to your point, I think it's also very important to recognize that conservation should be incorporated as a regular day of living, so to speak, in terms of promoting water efficiency. So I would say in terms of for the drought, it's going to be more of the norm. Like, we will anticipate there will be dry periods and wet periods, and not to assume that once a heavy rainfall, it's going to get us out. We're not in the clear, so to speak. So I would cautiously encourage and promote folks to continue to conserve and take advantage of rebates if it makes sense.
Okay, and then on that note, so this commission knows I brought up in the past, I've spent a lot of time in Nevada the last few years. Nevada has a very strict water conservation program. One of the things that they do, and I understand we're not Nevada, California's allocation for the Colorado River is much different than Nevada's, and our climate here is slightly different than Nevada's climate. But one of the things they do in their water conservation system is they have inspectors who drive around and make sure that people are not watering the wrong times. When they are watering, it's not overflowed, and they do have a fine system set up so people, if they are watering the wrong days, or their sprinklers or emitters are going onto the streets and however their criteria they have of their watering. Is that something that we can do here or consider doing here? Is that something that we could do, be in a proactive manner moving forward, so that to promote conservation, to get people to conserve when people are thinking, hey, we've had a crazy wet winter, we're out of the drought, woohoo, I'm gonna use my hose to hose down my driveway, hose down my deck, not thinking that we're not out of it. So is that something that moving forward we can emulate that other places do?
That's a great question. So it sounds like to me it's like a water waster patrol program. And actually, during stage 2, that was one of the things that we had to augment. So we were having staff driving out regularly, identifying if there's situations of daytime watering and wasteful water use. We were following up with notices and/or phone calls, working through and informing customers that what was observed. We also have a water waster hotline. So if anybody happens to see something of any of sort, they can also report that in, and it could also be anonymously. And we connect with the customers also, and just inform them about that as well.
So you have, if I understand what you're saying correctly, you have sort of a less, a more casual enforcement type system set up.
Yeah, if staff sees something, they say something to that effect.
But it's not something where you'd fine somebody. It's not something where you would send them like I'm coining a phrase here, put a red notice in their bill saying, hey, we saw on this date your sprinklers were on the street. Fix that right away.
We currently do not fine folks that we've identified that has those kinds of behaviors observed, but we do follow it with a notice, written notice, to let them know, as well as a phone call as well.
Okay. I believe that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, any of the other commissioners? No. Okay, I do have one or two myself. It's kind of funny, your presentation is really educational, because the news snippets that I heard was, it's all going to the Bay. I happened to be up in San Francisco at the time. It's a waste, and of course that was a good news headline that people would listen to. I did not hear this side of the story, so coming out of here, my opinion has very much changed. The other thing was when I took that Coachella Valley Water Counts Academy, which I would encourage all of our residents to do. especially our youth. You know, hopefully there's some, I'm for sure that they're interested in this topic. Our groundwater gives us a sort of cushion against some of these swings that we're seeing as far as what I understand. But what I understood in the 2022 draft, the previous draft, you know, prior to this amendment, was that one thing that was going to be critical for us was to get a project in where we would have supplemental water to that groundwater. And that, I believe you called that our replenishment program. And there were some funds that were to be allocated to that. Do you know what I'm talking about? There were some projects in the last plan to supplement that groundwater to make sure that it maintained a certain level as part of the conservation management plan. And I'm curious as to whether or not this recent rainfall has meant that those funds and those projects have disappeared or are deemed no longer necessary.
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer, but I'd be happy to look up and get back to you about that.
That is, I think it's goal 4 of our sustainability plan is it goal 4? Is conserve water. Also, the other question that I had was just to clarify something that was mentioned, purple pipes to the golf courses. We have purple pipes to all of our golf courses, correct?
So that would be primarily a project that's driven by Coachella Valley Water District, and they would coordinate and work. They have an extensive, comprehensive program that works specifically with golf courses to, you know, in terms of infrastructure, bringing the water supply through and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we don't do that.
Not specifically here.
But we would tell them we have input, no? For golf courses in our area, no?
We certainly share that information in terms of the types of golf courses that are here that are within the service area, because some of these projects are funded, sourced with like canal water as an example, or recycled.
Okay, so they're not pulling from our supply. Interesting. Okay, that's interesting to note. I think so. This new plan that you have presented us with today, it is available now online, or it will be, or?
Yes, if the commission folks are interested, I can certainly, they are publicly available. Both documents are very comprehensive, and I'd be happy to share that also.
Okay, well, that was really quick, from the change in the order in March till having it, an update published already. That is really quick work of that. But, of course, you know, as Commissioner Benson was saying, you know, we all feel that, okay, it's one rain, we're not there yet. We still, you know, conservation needs to be a way of life with us down here, because we want to stay here and enjoy the place. So I thank you so very much. Very, very well done. Thanks so very much. Okay, so very hopeful words there, so that's wonderful. Our next agenda item is 5.2, and that is on a beautification program, and it's the presentation by Mr. Jose Ramirez. He's a management analyst with the City of Indio. So, thank you, Mr. Ramos. Please go ahead. Ramirez, sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh, there it is. Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Jose Ramirez, Management Analyst. Today I will be discussing Indio's formal beautification program and present a couple of naming choices. I will begin with the mission of our beautification program. So, our mission is to create a beautiful, clean, and healthy Indio that residents and visitors can take pride in. We aim to achieve this by developing and implementing effective public education and community improvement programs. I will discuss a few of the quality of life programs that we are currently planning. So the first one is community cleanups, which involve organizing volunteer groups to clean up a designated area in the community. We also are working on residential improvements, which would involve painting, repairing, and cleaning properties, especially in the downtown area, to enhance the appearance and give residents and visitors a better experience. We are also working on budgeting for a full-time beautification aide or specialist, which would work with the city manager's office and will be improving the aesthetics of public spaces. They can enhance the appearance of public parks, streets, and buildings. Public education involves providing information to the community about our programs and how they can benefit from them. School promotion and outreach involves promoting quality of life programs in schools. This could organize student volunteer groups to participate in our community cleanups. Now let's discuss some of the benefits that our beautification program can have on the community. A significant benefit of the beautification program is the enhanced quality of life for residents. Aesthetic improvements such as landscaping, painting, and clean sidewalks can make neighborhoods safer and more enjoyable to live in. By creating a more visually appealing environment, Indio residents may feel a greater sense of pride in their community. The beautification program can also have a positive impact on tourism in the city. When the city is visually appealing, it becomes more attractive to the tourists looking for a destination to visit. This can lead to increased revenue for our local businesses, job creation, and a boost to the local economy. In addition, tourists who have a positive experience in Indio are most likely to recommend the city to others, further increasing its reputation and a desirable tourist location. Indio's beautification program will also have a positive effect on the environment. Sorry about that. The program aims to inspire residents to take pride in their city and take steps to preserve and protect it as well. Now we can discuss the most important part in naming, which is naming the program. So we conducted a survey that ran from March 27th to April 10th, where our residents and members of the community had a chance to vote on their favorite name out of 5 options. The 5 options included Indio Lindo, Keep Indio Beautiful, Keep Indio Vibrant, Bonito Indio, and I Love Indio. After 2 weeks, these were the final results. Indio Lindo was the winner with 37% of the votes, and Keep Indio Beautiful was second with 28% of the votes. In conclusion, city staff recommends that Indio Lindo should be the formal name for the city's beautification program, since that is what our residents voted for. However, we are open to any suggestions that the commission may have for the naming of the program or the program itself. Please let me know if you have any input, suggestions, or questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so very much. Very interesting and quite, I wouldn't say daunting, but quite a challenging task. We have, for our sustainability plan, we have Goal 5, which deals with land. And I've noticed also that a number of the opportunities that we get for bids or grants also have a beautification aspect to it. So, and we're constantly feel like we're running behind to respond to those funding opportunities. So having a full-time specialist will at least make us feel that we're not always running to catch up. Oh, you know, I think that might help us on grants going forward. So you could probably add that to one of your advantages. So with that general comment, I will ask our commissioners if they have any questions or suggestions generally, and then we can perhaps hone in on the question that of the campaign. So before we talk about the campaign, the name of the campaign that's preferred, are there any other general comments or questions on
if I may.
Yes, please do.
Mr. Ramirez, I just wanted to say, I know sometimes it's a thankless job that you have, but for the manager's office and for you management analysts, you're doing a wonderful job, and it's been a long time since we've seen this kind of energy and excitement in downtown Indio, so thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well spoken. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I have a
Bernstein.
couple of questions. Thank you for your presentation. I brought this up in the past. I know it may not necessarily be directly your department, and I know it kind of goes into other departments, but what about the idea of increasing litter disposal cans around the city? That would be a proactive way to help keep our city beautiful. Has there been a thought about increasing that? I mentioned to Sarah and to her team the example that Disney did a study, and they determined that in Disneyland, a garbage can every 12 feet is the optimum positioning for a trash can to prevent people from dropping trash on the ground. And I'm not saying we put trash cans every 12 feet in the city of Indio, but what is the thought process of doing something like that? I know that there's budgetary constraints and whatnot, but is there an idea or a plan moving forward to increase trash cans and increase disposal of those, pickup of those trash cans so they don't overfill? Is that something that would be considered moving forward?
Yes, that's a great idea, and we can definitely consider it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I noticed we've had, and I think it's fantastic that some of the past Coachella art has been purchased or donated. I'm not too sure how that works, and put up around the city. Is that something that's ongoing for moving forward in the future, and we'll continue to do that, or are we kind of at fill with that, or is that off the table with Coachella, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we're actually looking into, we're going to speak to Golden Voice to see if we can lease another one or if they'll let us borrow another art piece for downtown.
So it's a leasing or borrowing situation, correct?
Yes, it just depends on the art piece.
Okay, and so what would happen to the current pieces that are around the city? Would they go away under certain circumstances?
Chair, members of the commission, Scott Trujillo, your deputy city manager. Great question. So each piece that we have from Golden Voice, different set of rules. Some are here on a lease, so in 20 years they're gone. They're possession either of Golden Voice and or the actual artist. Different arrangements. And there are other pieces in which they're ours forevermore. And the relationship with Golden Voice remains strong, and we're in constant communication. They allow us to go in there early on before the festivals, along with our Public Arts Commission, and they get to look at those arts pieces and see where's a good place to place those. Just going to give you an idea. I think it was last year there were some artwork. I think it was it may have been at both Coachella and Stagecoach, but they're in the shape of a dog, and then on the inside there were plants, plant life. So we're going to build a dog park at Miles Avenue Park, and we're going to place 3 of those large dog pieces. They're probably 20 feet high. So it's the silhouette, if you will, of a dog, and they're pretty neat. So those are coming. We got the colossal cacti, Sabarla K over at Dr. Carry-On Park. But the plan is, because we were trying to get that synergy downtown and to bring those art pieces down here. It's a great Instagram photo for the youngsters. I was here this weekend, and they're all downtown taking pictures of colossal cacti. So, but that will remain forevermore. And the arrangement, again, ideally is for us to own the piece, but that is contingent upon the relationship between Golden Voice and the artist.
Okay.
So.
And can I ask if or should I suggest, is probably the better wording, to not focus too much on downtown? There is a bunch of other cities as well. So I know downtown, we're trying to, the focus has been a lot of cleaning it up and making it look as nice as possible, but it's not the largest city in the world, but it is also the other areas too. So the more artwork, I think, the better. With Desert X going on right now, and that being it's such a big draw for a lot of things, we could, and essentially, to coin a phrase, have our own Indio X type thing with these permanent structures and get more people experiencing more of the city by having more of these structures. I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing, and please keep it up and please continue.
And you're definitely in concert with where the Public Arts Commission is headed. The artwork, they're doing exactly that. They're placing them, for example, there's a 9/11 art piece that's going to go up on Dr. Carry-On in Jackson by our new public safety campus. There's some artwork that's slated to go over on Shields Park, which is end of Avenue 46 and Shields, kind of a little hidden park over there, but there's no artwork. So we're trying to spread it out, get some on the north side as well, but there's not one particular area that we're keeping out, and that's definitely on their minds to spread the love.
Cool, thank you very much. Those are all my questions,
I
thank
think
you.
it's an excellent, excellent job, and I enjoy it and find it particularly uplifting and inspiring, and it really instills caring for the community. The more art, the less trash, the more people feel a sense of ownership. So I think we're very much in favor of this, and find it to be essential. It's not additive, it's not fluff in terms of the city's expenses. So the last question on the list was that you posed to us was our thoughts on the slogan. So I don't know if any of the commissioners wanted to volunteer their thoughts on the slogan.
I'm not that witty to come up with slogans, so I'm gonna keep out of that. Thank
Well,
you.
unless, forgive my ignorance, but unless there's a different meaning, Lindo just basically means nice, right? Is that right? Like
Yeah.
nice Indio?
Yes, like beautiful, nice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Commissioner?
If I may, I just had a general question from your presentation. First of all, thank you, Jose, for your presentation. Just a question on the community cleanups. How often are those held?
So the goal is to run those monthly, and it would usually be the third or fourth Saturday of the month.
Okay. And for residents, where can they get more information for the volunteering of those?
Yeah, so we have it's a tab on our website. You go to it's on the volunteer opportunities, and we actually have like a brochure on there as well as a link to for our volunteer application.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a specific comment on the suggestions other than to say that just any engagement is good. So I don't really care what people choose as long as they engage in the process. That's the important part. So thank you for that outreach and for getting engagement. And, you know, I think whatever we can do artistically to present that slogan will just help. So thanks, and we hope to see you back here sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All righty, great. So thank our presenters and our vice city manager for all of the great information, very uplifting and positive information on the water news. Good news is, you know, it's really nice to hear good news, and the beautification as well. Our next agenda item is agenda item number 6.1, and I think I'm caught up with what Sarah was trying to say, which is the draft sustainability plan, which is attached to the agenda. I knew you had said you didn't plan to vote on something, but Sarah, thank you. Could you go ahead and lead us through a discussion of that, please?
Turn your microphone on.
Thank you.
All right.
We've been working on our 2023 work plan, and overall, the sustainability plan itself has not changed all that much from last year. So there were some minor edits that I made to that, but other than that, it's generally the same goals, the same ideas that we were working on before. It's the work plan and the worksheets that we need to update a little bit more. And then eventually, this is what will go to City Council as our 2023 work plan. I did update some of the sheets. I tried to be consistent with some of the feedback that I got from the commissioners. There were things, like for instance, the sustainability, creating the report and putting the program on the website. Since we do have that, or the plan is now on the website, I didn't add it as a status sheet. There wasn't too much conversation on the community advisory program, so that's not on there either. And then I got a lot of feedback on updates from IID, from what's going on with Colorado River and things like that, that everybody wants to hear about, but I didn't really add that as a project sheet as well. I can if that's what the commission wants. I just thought that we would just put that as part of our agenda for updates on certain things moving forward. But if you'd like to see it as a project sheet, that's fine as well. Most of the rest of what I heard has been added. We may be able to have a booth for outreach. I tried to be heavy on the outreach with these projects because I know that's been a focus for the commission for a little while. So we're working on getting approvals and logistics if we get the approval to have a booth at the farmer's market, a city booth, but we'll be able to have, obviously, a lot of outreach for SB 1383 and sustainability there as well. This just went out on Friday. It's not a voting item tonight because it just came out. So what I'd like to do is put this on the website and then along with the other one, and then have my contact information there, and then give everybody a month basically for feedback, and then bring it back next month as a voting item with all, any public comments that we get and any more comments from the commissioners. If you have any more questions about the work plan, I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioners?
I have a quick question, if you don't mind. When you say outreach, what exactly are you talking about with that?
Outreach being, instead of a plan, components of different things that we're doing. So as I tried to put the outreach plan together, there was really outreach that we needed to do, not necessarily for sustainability, but that we need to do for SB 1383, which is a part of everything else that we do. For beautification, we're going to be working with Mr. Ramirez with the beautification outreach and try to incorporate what we need to do with the Clean California grant and see if we can work on basically helping fund with the grant funds some of those projects and outreach, and then bringing that and then using what we do or what the beautification program will do to satisfy the grant projects. So we're going to be doing outreach and synergy like that. That's how I started putting not the plan together, but the sheets together. And then outreach just in general. We did not have a booth at the farmer's market. Again, that really matched up with a lot of the projects that we've been talking about. So we wanted to add outreach component to that. So that's what I mean by outreach. It's a focus of a lot of different things, but it's hard to pinpoint just outreach for, say, sustainability in general. Doesn't mean we can't do it. This is your work plan, so it's however you want to work it, but that's how it's set up right now.
Okay, so I'm a little confused on your answer, and please bear with me. So you talked about a booth at the farmer's market, and that booth would be a place where people can come up and ask questions about whatever item that booth is there to talk about, either being, what you're talking about directly or whatever is on the agenda. Is that you're talking about? Like, is that an example of what you're saying? So if someone came up to that booth at the farmer's market, what would they see and be told about?
It would be a city booth, but that would be a place to have our giveaways, such as the reusable bamboo utensils, and for 1383 small kitchen pails, if people would like to take those. That way, with items like that, you can bring people to the booth. You can talk about sustainability. You can talk about the regulations of how you really can't go to a restaurant anymore and get your utensils. You have to ask for them, or better yet, here's some reusable utensils. And those are outreach items that we have to do for 1383 for the new waste regulations, as far as the utensils not really being able to be given out from restaurants without being asked. It gives us an opportunity to do that. It also is a booth, is a city booth. So if IWA wanted to have more information about water conservation there, we would be, happy to have that there as well. So it's whatever works, but we would be able to have for sure, it would just match up very easily with some of the outreach we would like to do as far as sustainability. And we would also have, information about the commission. It meets here, come on down.
So we talk about the booth. Is there an idea or a plan to have a booth at every city type event, like the Tamale Festival, like the concert series downtown? Like, whenever there's anything going on, is that something we could, have in the budget moving forward so that whenever there's an event in the city, there would be that booth for that outreach?
In a lot of those, I believe there already is a booth, and I'd have to kind of, we can look into working with them. I can ask where and when they have them and see if we can do some outreach along with them. But I think that a lot of those places already have a city booth in general there.
So the city has a booth at those events already that
Yes.
discusses similar stuff. So speaking of booths, this will be my last question, and this is maybe reaching for the brass ring. And since it just ended this past weekend, what about a booth at Coachella and Stagecoach? And I understand it's 160,000 people, and 159,500 of them are not living in Indio, probably. But is that something that we could do in the future to increase visibility, help educate people, help, neighboring cities and counties and states to increase, people's knowledge about sustainability? And I'm not saying yes, but is that a possibility maybe moving forward to look into that, now with Power Trip in the fall and Golden Voice is allotted 5 weekends out of the year, we're talking about upwards to 400,000 people coming into the city who we could educate and we could help. Is that something that we could do, moving forward in the future?
I don't have an answer for you now. I can look into it.
Cool, thank you. That's all I have.
Alrighty. Other commissioners? Benson, Vasquez? Okay, I have questions. Alrighty. Because I did have a number of comments on our work plan, and it's not merely in the what of the paper, because I know that we can't really communicate all the details to the city council, but it's those the material and the details. How are we going to capture them? You mentioned a few already. That we could add as we go, and then even on the commissioner's question about the outreach plan, we had a presentation of an outreach plan, but the presentation that was done do not get added to the minutes. And this is sort of more a general umbrella question of mine. When we have presentations, even the presentation by the water group this afternoon, how do we retain that document so that it is accessible to commissioners in the future? For example, even asking, we had the presentation on the outreach plan.
We did, and that should be incorporated from the minutes. I can't think of which, it's the outreach plan with Tara. I can't think of the month that it was, but the month after that was in the minutes.
So
and
it
it is in the minutes, yes. And her presentation and her ideas and her list of things that we can do are outlined in those minutes. And I can send those out to you once I figure out or remember exactly which one she came to, but for sure, it was captured.
Yeah, my question is more towards our method, okay, to the, so that, like, if I'm not here for a week, I don't have to, or a particular meeting, I know what that plan is, I can go back there. Is that the way, do you think we should do it, Sarah, or should we devise some other method of capturing these more granular details of these plans? What are your thoughts, please?
Well, I feel like if it's not working, then we need to find another way. That's not a problem at all. I want to make sure that we follow through and we capture the things that, that we've talked about, that nothing gets left behind.
Right,
Um,
right.
It may be, for the outreach plan, maybe what I'll do is I will compile those sheets and I can make it more formal. And maybe that's the way to pull all of that together, like from the notes and from the sheets. And the sheets the idea was the sheets were the first step toward the plan. I just was gonna break it down a little bit because it was so scattered. It's hard to figure out how to organize it. Do we organize it by each project that has an outreach component, or do we pull out the outreach? And so I left it as kind of a project outreach, so that in that sense, there's just plan sheets. But we can pull it together into more of a plan. Ultimately, it was meant to head that way anyway. If we
Yeah.
started outlining it, then it would come together more as a plan. But if it helps to pull that together now, then that's fine. I can do that.
I think maybe looking forward, because even as I look here, it says draft an outreach plan. We had the presentation of the options for an outreach plan, but we never did finalize per
No,
se
we didn't.
what were our plans. So I think those presentations are fine. They can stay where they are, that, they're an accurate record in terms of the past. But as we move forward, I think the way that you've got it now is fine, because there's only so much we can do anyway. But we would just need to continue to update and clean these up as we, update them, and to reflect our final decisions, so that when we say the outreach plan, we all know what we're talking about, or when we say the conservation plan, we all know what we're talking about. Because we have a lot of discussion, but capturing that final decision is, I think this sheet is a good way. And if you come up with something better as we go along, I'm fine with that too, but we can just start with what we have. But this certainly, as you said at the start, it doesn't reflect all of our decisions and discussions and all of the details. So I'm fine. My general comment is that I'm fine with continuing to fill this in to reflect our final decisions as we move forward. That way we're not like, revisiting. We don't have time to revisit everything 6 times. So,
We don't, but I do want to make sure that we're capturing it in a meaningful way, and
Yes.
that's very important. Tara's presentation is captured in the February 27th
yes,
minutes.
yes.
So that's there, and then our plan to have a plan and then move forward is kind of fuzzy. So, and have sheets instead. So we can, I think I understand what you're saying, and I'll see if I can format it in a way where it can be captured a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't think you have to have the perfect answer even next month. I'm fine with finding ways to update it, but the presentations such as the 2 that we had here today will be added to the minutes of the meeting next month, right?
That's correct.
So that way we'll be able to go, okay. Maybe I said it was my final one, but actually I do have one final one, and this is for the other commissioners. I had thrown out the idea, because we're in April now, and before you know it, it will be November, okay? So just jump right over the hot season. But with the list, even though it appears somewhat brief, Sarah has done a good job of making it seem manageable, but it's still quite a bit for us to do. We do tend to run out of time, and I had the thought in mind that maybe each of us could champion one or more of these issues. So that commissioner who champions that issue can be doing background research. So for example, if someone is pretty passionate about the ZEVs and the charging stations, they can move along and not necessarily wait in queue. For the rest of us, if someone is, passionate about one of these particular items, and we don't have to decide on that today, but I just throw that out as a thought. I already started last year. When did we start on the zero waste? Was it last year?
Yes.
So Sarah and I worked on getting that true certification and got more knowledgeable. But there's just not enough time for all of us to be expert on every single topic on here. So any comments to that?
Yeah,
suggestion?
I think that's brilliant, and it's a great way to attack everything. So we got the waste, we have the EV, what else, Sarah?
Water,
Yeah,
waste, there's the EV, outreach. The events were pretty much set on, and then information on IID, digesters, kind of an electricity or an electrical kind of focus
LED power.
and
Okay.
background, yeah.
So Madam Chairwoman, you got waste handled.
Yes, I would say so. I put a little bit of work in that one.
I'd be happy to champion outreach.
Okay, thanks. So that's Commissioner Chris. Any of the other commissioners have a passion?
Sarah knows I have a bit of a passion for energy and for water.
Okay.
I could be a bit of a pain about
So-
that.
Commissioner Benson is going to do IID,
And water.
water. We actually don't have water on the 23 work plan, Sarah. I don't see it.
We don't have a necessarily a project. We
see.
do have it as a goal. We
Right.
don't necessarily have it as a project because for the most part, IWA runs those programs.
Right.
It doesn't mean we don't do it. And we also have, beautification on here, and yet that's going to get taken care of, more and more by the city manager's
staff, yeah.
office. So we should probably add a project sheet, because this is sustainability is citywide, and we want to make sure that this incorporates the city efforts, and that, people can see what the city is doing, not just necessarily what's happening in one department.
All right. So,
So I think that adding a water project sheet would be a great idea.
okay, all righty. And Commissioner Vasquez, is there anything on here that you particularly care for, or you can always think about it?
Yeah, I'll definitely think about it. Anything that has to do with any renewable energy or solar projects, I'd be more than happy to look into.
All right, so.
Well, last year we did have that serious discussion on the solar and the mobile units and everything, and we never quite circled back to that.
All right,
Yes,
Okay.
that got delayed because, well, for many reasons, and then now because of the grant.
Right.
Because that funding to actually start those, to have the EV solar, do you mean the EV chargers?
Yeah.
Solar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got pushed back because we're going to apply for the grant for the $50,000 and we'd need the money we were going to use for that project to be the match. So we have to wait until we find out if we get the grant, and then If
Yeah.
we don't get the grant, we'll move forward with it. If we do, then it'll be a much bigger project.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our volunteers, so Commissioners Benson and Vasquez on energy-related projects, and I see the digesters here, the EV chargers, and IID, and then Commissioner Benson on water. And I'll stick with the waste-related ones, which are the, what do I got here? Indoor recycling containers, the collection events, I can add that under that umbrella, and a waste brochure, and Commissioner Chris on the outreach plan and beautification, and that would also, I guess, include the brochures and so on. So we'll sort of conquer and divide and do our research, because I just don't have the bandwidth to look at all of them. I don't know about other folks. Okay, so, alrighty, with that, okay, now I've lost the agenda. So we thank you, Sarah. We'll look for your updates. Please feel free to make any updates on that before you post them, and we'll look at them. You can let us know when they're available, or release them as is, whichever you prefer to do. And with that, we move to the agenda item number 7, which is comments from the commissioners. So are there any comments, commissioners? No?
I asked all my questions tonight, so I have no
Alrighty.
comments.
Okay, good. That's participation. That's what it's all about. Alrighty, so with that, I would move to agenda item number 8, which is staff items.
I have no more items. Thank you.
No more items, okay. Well, since there are no other agenda items that I can see on my list, I make a motion to adjourn the Sustainability Commission meeting for today, for April 23rd. It is now 6:35 p.m. Does anyone second the motion?
Second?
Alrighty. With all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Please.
Aye.
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 Okay, hearing no objections, I now declare the meeting adjourned. The next meeting will be May 22nd. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, presenters.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Alrighty, we got through a little bit there.
Yep.
In an hour, that was good.
Yeah.
You could have done it